Okay, guys, Rex here. We're finally taking a closer look at the Primary Arms Platinum Athena. This is the BPR reticle. We've been showing lots of footage of us shooting it, but we haven't really showed you the reticle itself and some of the details on exactly all the different features that are inside there. It's actually a pretty cool scope. As you guys know, the Platinum series is a pretty well-vetted model. We've used lots and lots of them in our courses. I have several myself. I've seen probably, I don't know, a couple dozen at least tracking tests that we do at the courses after we put all the optics through the paces. They track on par with the Nightforce AT-ACRs, the high-end Leupold stuff, and also the Vortex Razors. All those Japanese scopes from Light Optics basically have very, very similar, if not the same parts and mechanisms on the inside, and so the tracking is very good on these scopes. Actually, very reliable tracking. The precision of the tracking is very close to right on. The magic in this particular scope is in the reticle. Now, the Athena BPR reticle is kind of a very, very fine version of a mill grid style reticle. It uses little dots instead of lines or grids to do your ballistic hold off at different distances. It also has auto ranging capability built into the reticle, which is a stadiometric ranging mechanism. Off to the upper right-hand side of the crosshair, you can see that we have a ranging deal. And what you're basically going to do, if you want to get the range to a target, this particular one is set up for a target that happens to be 5 feet 10 inches tall or 18 inches wide, is the feet of the target will go on the horizontal line on the reticle. That's where the feet stand on a bad guy, okay? And then the top of the head, average human size is 5 foot 10 inches. So you're going to go to the number, and there's a corresponding line there, and if they're about that tall and you range them in there, if they're standing fully erect, you should have a pretty good idea of about how far they are. Also, you can bracket the shoulders or an 18-inch wide target of any kind. If you're shooting steel, 18-inch wide piece of steel, you can bracket that in that auto ranging deal, how wide it is, and that'll give you the corresponding range. So there's something that gives you the ability not have to project radiation across the battlefield. A laser is detectable in a real battle against a first world enemy. So if that Red Dawn deal ever happens, it's nice to have these stadiometric ranging options. And of course, if you look at the center of the reticle, let's look closer at the center of the reticle. There are some details that I think you might find interesting. The very, very center aiming point is something that I actually do like. It is the little chevron, which means that when you're zeroing this optic, you can get an infinitely small aiming point. So you can get it dead on exactly where you want it in terms of your zero. A chevron, in terms of fractional geometry, is with a chevron infinitely fine as far as your eye can discern and as far as the glass allows, okay? Next to that small point, you'll notice if you zoom in on the middle of the reticle, you're going to see off to the sides, you have a series of little lines which give you tenth increments. So you don't have to do kind of a spatial perception-based interpolation in your brain of about how many mils it is. Half a mil or 1 mil increments are not going to cut it for ranging using a mil system. So you're going to have to know exactly how tall or how wide that target is in mils, within a tenth at least. And this allows you the ability to just look at that part of the grid to get that. So if you're looking at the main dots coming off the center of the reticle, the chevron part, before we get to the 10th mil increment parts, you'll see that it's relatively clean. And those are spaced apart in 0.2 mil increments. That's to allow you a little more room for a splash observation, trace observation in the center part of that reticle. It's very smart design to want to have that relatively clean. And the bullet trace can be very hard to see. If you're shooting in snow or grass or the forest or even in very rocky terrain, spotting splash can be very difficult. So having a clean center aiming point is actually very helpful for bullet observation and where that bullet strikes. So they spaced it apart a little bit farther apart there right in the center. And if you go off the center of that reticle again, you have those 10th mil increment lines where you can get a very, very precise reading of exactly how tall that target is. And as you look down on the bottom half of the reticle, we have a very logically arranged system of ballistic grids. And we have larger dots and we have smaller dots. Let's go down the bottom spine of the reticle first. If you look at the spine, the vertical part going straight down from the center line and up, you're going to see that you have a large hash mark every 1 mil. That's very, very nice. Sometimes when you're under pressure and the occipital lobe of your brain is trying to interpret information on the X and Y axis, it's easy to get lost and count things when you're trying to juggle 10 different things at once. If anyone with field experience knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it's nice to have those just very straightforward. Every hash mark going down that spine is 1 mil. Now, if you go down quite a few mils, they are numbered on both sides in increments of 2. You don't want too many numbers to cloud your view or to confuse you, but they're in even increments. So on the 2nd mil line, you have a 2 on both sides. On the 4th mil line, you have 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and I really like having the number on both sides of that deal because there's different scenarios in which your view might be obstructed or your eye will wander a certain way or you're already favoring one side or the other for wind, and having to traverse your eyeball all the way across that x-axis to get that number and come back is very easy to get a line shift. And one line shift, if you're off by 1 mil, which happens, that's going to hose you bad. It's nice to have those numbers on both sides. Now, if you look closely within the matrix of the grid, when you get off the spine, we have a series of dots. The larger dots are 1 mil dots. Those are spaced 1 milliradian apart. In between them, you have smaller dots, which are simply half mil dots. And they're spaced apart, and there's a lot of work that went into this during the development phase of the project to make sure that the dots weren't too big as to obstruct your view of the target area, but also big enough to where you can actually pick them up in a variety of terrain. And so as you can see here, we've used this scope in all different kinds of terrain, from arid to semi-arid to the prairie, out in the snow. Very easy in the snow to see exactly where your lines are. Very difficult to spot exactly where that bullet's going in the snow just because of the nature of the fluffiness. The bullets absorb very quickly. But at the same time, if you're in the desert, very, very easy to spot your splash within that matrix of that grid, so you can do a very, very quick second round correction if you have to. And it also allows you, with all those different aiming points within the matrix of that grid, a very, very nice way to actually get dead on point with where you're aiming. Anytime your brain is already overloaded with 5 different windows open on the bottom of your screen, trying to balance all these different tasks, it's just somewhat difficult to try to interpolate between things visually using your spatial perception. That takes up a whole nother window on the bottom of the screen, uses up a lot of RAM. So it's nice to be able to just have those little dots there as actual aiming points. And so in my experience, after using this reticle for over a year now, it's actually probably my favorite straight up mil scale or grid pattern reticle. It's a very, very easy system and very intuitive to use. It does have a multitude of features, which I think are very smart. And of course, another feature of the scope is the illumination, which is done quite nicely. You have it all the way up to 11, like the amplifiers on Spinal Tap, particularly the clean center point aiming area, the chevron in the middle. Of course, the 10th mil increments off to the side are very handy. You got horizontal and vertical 10th mil increment sections on the outside of the center region. And then, of course, you have your very clean mil scale matrix done in small dots with numbers on both sides. Very, very nicely designed reticle. And of course, you still have your stadiometric quick ranging on the upper right corner. Now you're going to have full view of the entire grid at about 10 power magnification. If you crank it down to 6 power, you're going to have to maybe use your illumination. It gets a little bit thin at 6 power, but really 6 power isn't going to be used for long-range precision target engagement. That's going to be used just to spot movement in the field, to kind of do a scan like you would with a monocular or a pair of binoculars at 6 power. Once you identify that target, you're going to crank it up to 10 or more. Now, when you zoom in to the very center of the reticle, when you crank it all the way up, you do lose some of that mil scale on that bottom portion of the reticle. But you still do have the option of dialing it in. And the turrets on the Primary Arms Platinum Series optics are the same turrets used in a lot of other very popular brands. If you take them apart and look at the internal parts, which I do that sometimes, you're going to notice that you're dealing with the exact same mechanisms. So they're very, very, very reliable turrets. You confirm your dope using the turrets and integrated with your entire ballistic system. One nice thing is that these scopes, the reticle and the turrets, are telling the same exact story. So they have been balanced out to make sure that whatever the reticle says is where the turrets go. That being said, most ballistic computation software, if for some reason your ballistics does not agree with exactly what your scope's telling you, it's a very easy calculation within the ballistic programming to get that exactly straight. So for precision shooting, I like this reticle because it still has that clean feel. You can still see your bullet trace even with the mil grid pattern in place. It doesn't totally obstruct your view of where splash might occur. And if you need to do some quick ranging, you have that option as well. So let's do a little demo here. Let's play the game. All right, we're looking at some bad guys here. So we're going to start off by just doing a vertical ranging analysis. I'm going to put the bottom of the horizontal line of the reticle on the feet and then to the top of the head. Now, I'm going to assume these guys are around 5'10". They might be a little bit shorter, it might be a little bit taller, but we'll just assume. Now, you can see it appears at the top of the head here, appears like it's about maybe 800-ish, right? So the target is around 800. And so being around 800, we're going to also confirm that with a width. If we can get the line on the shoulders here, I'm just going to triple check and see, okay, we got a width. That corresponds with what I saw in the height. Both of these folks standing on the hill, myself and my compadre Lou, are kind of slouching. So sometimes height or the feet might be obstructed by grass or shrubs or rocks. So sometimes you're going to only have that width option. So here we're going to check out the width just to make sure, even though we have clear view of the target. Okay. So that's telling us it's right around maybe a little bit over 800. So we're just going to check out our ballistic dope here, and we're going to look at our dope for 800, and we're going to hold off accordingly. And our dope at 800 happens to be right around 6.3 mils. So we're just going to hold over 6.3. I'm going to hold off a little bit for spin drift, and it's almost a dead calm day, so we're just going to hold right about here. I'm going to stay on target, though, in case I misinterpreted something, and I'm not going to hold off the target at this kind of distance. I'm still going to hold on the target, so at least we have the highest probability of a hit.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do another scenario. Same two fellas on the hill. Let's say they're farther away. So now we're going to range them. We're going to get their feet on that line and see if their head even touches that bottom line. That zero line would be 1,000, okay? What you can see here is they're not quite getting up to 1,000, right? So you know they're past 1,000. Now, with that in mind, you can also do a double check on the width to see if maybe something else is going on. And yep, the width confirms that 1,000-yard, 18-inch wide stadiometric ranging line on here is showing that they're just a little bit smaller than that line. Okay, so now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to actually mill them. So I'm going to get the reticle, the center of the chevron, right at the bottom of my compadre Lou's feet here, and I'm going to measure his height. Okay? Now, if you get out a calculator and you follow along, it's quite a simple formula. We teach this in all our courses, of course. We'll say we have a 72-inch tall target, okay? Because I know actually how tall he is. He's not 5'10". He's actually about 6 foot. So 72 inches tall times 25.4. It's going to give me 1,828.8. I'm going to take that divided by the mils. 1.5 is what I'm reading here. It looks like about 1.5 mils, doesn't it? So he's about 1,219 meters. So that's our distance to the target here is 1,219 meters. So if I use the MIL system, I can range any target of any known dimension, and because I knew his exact height, we could type in the exact height in the formula. Now, the stadiometric ranging bracket off to the side is for the average human height, but our friend is a little bit taller than that. So after we've ranged our target, we're going to simply look at our firing solution. At that distance, it appears to be around 14.3 mils and at least a solid 0.4 in spin drift. So that's something that we're going to hold off for, and in this scenario, we'll just disregard wind. There's no wind today, and so this is about where we'd hold. So we just count over, and we got all the numbers on the sides there so we don't get lost. Quite an easy system to really navigate. So when you take a look at this incredible reticle, in the package of the primary arms 34 millimeter main tube, 6 to 30 power by 56 millimeter objective lens scope that's been proven for quite a few years now, this is one heck of a good choice to run. If you're on a budget and you don't want to spend like $2,000, but you still want to be incredibly effective and be in that ball game, this is something that I would say is a very good value. One of the best values you can have in terms of a good, decent Japanese-made scope that's not breaking the bank, best bang for the buck type situation. And the reticle is one of my favorite mil-scale reticles that I've ever used to date because it's not too crowded, it's balanced out very nicely, and it was very, very well thought out to go along with the human mind rather than fight against it. If you find yourself getting lost in a reticle or confused or having to count to see where you're at, that might not be exactly what you're looking for. This one, in my opinion, is designed very smart. Of course, the rest of the optic, as we have proven over the years, is very, very rugged. We've used it in sub-zero temperatures, freezing cold. It's been completely wet. We've used it in the desert in, it's 40, 50, 60 below Fahrenheit, and it's just been a very reliable scope. Everything is well put together. Everything's nice and smooth. The turrets, like I said before, are relatively precise, like any other Japanese scope you're going to find, the ATACR Night Force or the Vortex Razor Generation 2. It's going to be right in that same range because it's basically made in the same place. And so that's something that to take into consideration. Primary Arms has always done a good job of keeping their prices relatively affordable. And do check this out if you're looking for a decent 34 millimeter main tube scope that has the absolute reliability of a reticle that's just cut in there, and then you don't have to rely on all that other super expensive engineering to get that perfect tracking because it's built right into the reticle. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. Check it out at Primary Arms, and I'm sure they should have a couple left in there by the time the video comes out, but it's something that I think is a very handy tool. Rock and roll. We'll catch you boys on the flip side.
It. Yeah. It.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. $1,093 yards.
I've never taken a long-range class before, but I can't imagine anybody delivering this much information in this short of a period.
Yeah, it takes a while. After you've been around a while, you kind of accumulate most of this information. Some of it falls by the wayside. Some of it you retain. At least you know it's there, and if you need to use it, you can pull on it.
You cannot miss an opportunity to gain knowledge. You cannot. The guys that are going to talk here, there must be 250 years of experience wandering around in the people that you're going to be exposed to. And I'm talking like hard-earned experience.
Rex is, of course, an absolute natural. He showed us over the years that, so I wasn't surprised to see him perform beautifully because he was born for it. He is naturally an awesome presenter. So whether he does it through YouTube, on video camera, or live, and by the way, congratulations, this is beyond the full house. I really think some people snuck up on you, man. You got to double check on who paid and who didn't, because I see more than 80 people here. I see north of 100 people.
If you have not been studying long range for quite some time, I'm not saying not to come to this class. I'm saying you better put your helmet on. It's gonna go fast. You can't get information like this is gonna happen in this class. You can't get that like anywhere.
He's already well known, and he'll get better and better and better.
But you're right. We have a very strong concentration of people with this much interest and passion. You know, in this one room, everybody's here looking for the best and trying to be the best. And
I love it.
And that's the secret to success, too, guys, is surrounding yourself with competent, intelligent, and passionate people.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot in this room because everybody that gathers together here is because of a love for the sport or the craft and the skill and the art and the science. And you, Mr. Rex, you're kicking some butt up there today, man. You're in the zone.
I'm getting sweatier and sweatier, Lou. Wait until 4 hours from now.
You know, I'm a little scared to get up there. I mean, Rex is such a great speaker in this forum, and I'm thinking, oh man, I'm going to bore these guys to death. But I can tell you one thing I like about these type of forums. When you get guys that admit to being interested in long-range shooting, you're past the guy who swears he can shoot a quarter-inch group with his factory Savage with factory ammo. So these guys, they're not at that point. They've gone past that. They're really serious now, and they really know a lot of this stuff. It's more about how much further can I push my
this is where they've come with
capabilities with more knowledge and more practice and more information.
We'll have a good time. The students will have a good time. You're going to get a tremendous level of information, and there are different levels of knowledge. And when I met Rex, he was really the first guy that I had met that had that kind of tier 1 level of knowledge.
This won't be the last time that you guys do this. This is the best thing that I have seen or been associated with thus far in this industry. This is really good. I think that the guys have learned a lot about this on relative to the topics and how to handle it at the next one that they do. I expect that the next one will be better and better and better, and I think that the guys that go to it are going to benefit and learn a lot.
But you're going to see some amazing things. When this company, as he builds this company and this curriculum, and it goes, I'm telling you, it's going to be a bookmark in American firearms training history. Like something is different over there, what's going on, and people will come from all over.
Hey folks, it's Lou McCoy with the Rex Reviews Project, and we are here in Texas. Holy crap, man.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun. I'm here with Jesse and his lovely wife, and what do you guys have to say after the second day?
So we get out here, the first thing we did was check out all of our guns and equipment. We want that solid. We learn the fundamentals, make sure that everybody is doing things like correctly and properly, and that way when we start shooting out the longer distances, we don't we don't have to wonder what's all going on out there, And I think that's really cool because you feel a lot more confident knowing that you're solid, you got a solid foundation when you start engaging things way out there. So.
And you
I think
start
that's
off,
great.
Yeah, man. And you start off really close, and you get all the bugs worked out, and then you work out farther, and it's no big deal. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy. So the system works, Mr. Rex. It works, my man.
Just this experience was probably the best shooting experience I've ever had. It was the most I've ever learned, ever. So just getting to shoot out to 1,000, 1,100 yards, and these guys get you out there quick and do it the right way.
Feels like, but I think it's rolling down off the snow. Right.
No way.
No. That's still barely a 2.
Oh yeah? It's hot air. Nothing. Yeah, reticle choice and design, I've really learned to, like, that's really important. You know, we always focus on all the other stuff, you know, but reticle design, you know, is very critical.
If you pay attention to those classes and watch those reviews, it'll all come together for you. And this is the place where it all comes together.
Yeah, and you get out in the field and you get to apply all that knowledge and see it in action, and that's gratifying.
Absolutely, and it's the real world issues that that you're really learning here, as opposed to just you get all that technical data, and then you bring it out here to the real world and you put it all together and it works.
The secret Rex taught me about butterfly kisses on the cheek. And
It's actually true?
It was true.
Did it work?
It totally worked.
What?
It totally was. It happened earlier today, and all day I've been just on.
Like I just said a minute ago, yesterday everybody showed up. They were nervous. They didn't know what to expect. And look at the crowd behind us now. It's like a party back there, man. People are just having the time of their lives, and not only having a good time, but making some shots too. Some impressive ones.
They're learning what they come out here with. The dot drills, a lot of the drills that Rex and Paul are having us do, they really make you, get you into shape and make you, do exactly what you did the last time and be consecutive, So I think that's a just super way to start to do this stuff. So.
Yeah, it is. And you lay that solid foundation, and the rest is easy, man.
Yeah, we're just now it's not even really hard to shoot out there. We're shooting out at 1,100 yards, and really not that big a deal now after we, now that we know what to do.
All right, what just happened, man?
I just hit a water bottle at 875 yards.
And you had one shot.
One shot.
That's not bad. So what's the secret, man?
Aim small, miss small.
Amen. Well done, brother.
Thank you.
As long as you pay attention and do what the instructors say, it will all come together as an equation, and the equal sign pops right up.
Name's Edwin from Boston. Traveled out here to Pennsylvania to take the class to shoot past my home range of 600. Shot out to 1030, made some hits. Every time Rex teaches you something new and gets you comfortable, he totally messes with you. Gets you dirty, gets you muddy, makes you roll around in the rain and the mud and the dust. And then he takes your scope and he messes it all up, and he teaches us something new every time. So great time, good guys.
Nice shooting there, Tex.
Thanks, man. Second round hit on the gong and first round hit on Fred. Almost a 1,000-yard shot. That was pretty awesome.
Feels good for first stage of the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I wasn't shooting very good yesterday, but it's good to come back.
Haven't shot past 400 yards until I came to RX-18. Right off the bat, brought us right out to 1,000 yards, gave us some confidence. And after working the range tables, I see no reason why I couldn't hit any target that I knew the true range to and had the dope for, all the way out to and including 1,000 yards.
You're exposing, all the different students, including myself, to some different techniques, pulling from different arenas, whether it be from some application of competition, PRS, NRL kind of things. When we can't always take a prone shot, shooting off of obstacles, from unstable positions.
I came to the RX just to learn everything. It's a great place to be, great people. Learned quite a bit. Got me dialed in at ranges I've never even looked at before.
I've been to RX 1701 seminar and 001 shooting, and so I have some familiarity, but this is just a lot better. This is what I really enjoy. The instruction is again top notch. We learn any problems we have, we immediately have someone diagnose the problem. It's because it's so relaxed, the environment, you're constantly learning and you don't even really realize it. I think it's just been an awesome experience, and the knowledge is
unbelievable.
Hey, my name's Mitch. I just over here at the Rex Live Fire event. Learned a hell of a lot. I got my rifle zero for 100 yards yesterday, and within a few hours I was hitting 1,030 yards. And I've never shot past 300 yards in my life. So it's definitely worth the money, definitely worth the trip, the hassle, everything about it's been great. Rex has been great, the crew's been great.
Oh, this has been terrific from my standpoint. We've seen things that we never expected to see. Let me see, we've got one guy, first time ever, at over a mile or whatever, and he's hitting 25, 80.
I think everyone got to a mile, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, everyone got to a mile in the whole class
and,
relatively easily.
It's really been surprising, and that just shows how the equipment, and it shows how the shooters have progressed learning and with the instruction and all. These guys have had good instruction, and they've just got the job done.
And how far were you shooting?
It was 1 mile.
1 mile, and what were we using here?
300 Win Mag.
300 Win Mag.
But probably not. Watch out, Rex.
So you just hit the 2,500 yards. Like, what's your solution?
It was 116 and a half MOA elevation and 14 MOA windage.
And you had 4 shots.
Yes, sir.
You got in your team?
I had 6, so 10 total to hit 2551.
So tell me the story. How'd you finally spot where you're hitting?
I saw the trace. I saw his trace, and I called it good, but he was about 6 inches off the top right corner of the plate. He made a minor correction, bottom left edge of the plate, and I saw the top of the bullet, but I lost it, but it was an impact. So awesome shot.